many UFO sightings are solitary events that leave witnesses scrambling to prove their story. But what happens when the same object is seen by many people at the same time? In 1965, hundreds watch in amazement as a fireball crashes in rural Pennsylvania. But as eyewitnesses struggle to understand what they see, the U.S. government establishes one of the most elaborate cover-ups in UFO history. Is it a spectacular meteor, a casualty of the space race, or is it something out of this world? Join us as we expose the hidden secrets of the Kecksburg incident on Unsealed Alien Files. A global effort has begun. Secret files hidden from the public for decades, detailing every UFO account, are now available to the public. We are about to uncover the truth behind these classified documents. Find out what the government doesn't want you to know. Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secrets on planet Earth. Earth's orbit, November 2007. High above the planet's surface, the NASA Atmospheric Research Satellite, UARS, collides with an object of unknown origin. Is it a meteor? Another satellite off its course? Or is it a UFO? Mark Matney of NASA's Orbital Debris Program says, it's very hard to determine what might have hit UARS. Though the main body of the satellite is intact, pieces fly off in all directions. It takes a further 3 years for the satellite's orbit to fully decay. Controlled descent is part of NASA's duties. They alert the media and the populace as they monitor the satellite's trajectory. As what remains of UARS breaks the atmosphere, it's observed speeding toward the Earth as a giant ball of fire. It plunges harmlessly into the Pacific. Was the UARS satellite crash an accident, or was it caused by a sinister alien force? NASA routinely monitors events like this all the time. But years earlier, another object made its way to the surface of our world, but under very different circumstances. December 9th, 1965, 4:45 p.m. U.S. Air Force Radar Command receives multiple reports of a fireball streaking east across the skies over Michigan. It's falling at a tremendous speed. Witnesses take photos of the object and the smoke trail it leaves behind. Grass fires are reported as debris drops in its wake. The object is believed to be a meteor. But this meteor attracts the attention of more than just the scientific community. NASA, the Air Force Special UFO Office, and the Pentagon take notice. The fireball crashes near a small town in rural Pennsylvania, sparking one of the biggest UFO controversies in American history. Unsealed case file, the Kecksburg incident. A UFO crashes in the woods outside Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, but the alleged meteor is believed to have exhibited strange behavior. A witness reports it appeared to maintain a certain altitude, then all of a sudden made a sharp dip downwards from roughly 500 or 600 feet to 300. The military, along with state police, seal off the area and turn away curious onlookers at gunpoint.
And when they gathered, what they noticed was that almost instantly a group, a unit of American soldiers who wore no insignia and came with a flatbed truck were there to retrieve this object and take it away. People were warned, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about this.
What did the Army recover from the Kecksburg crash site? And why did the Army threaten eyewitnesses? According to those who say the Army transported something out of the Kecksburg woods that night, it wasn't a meteor. Residents report seeing a large bell-shaped object under a tarp. One witness described it as a large solid metallic object, large enough for a man to stand inside. The media reports nothing was found at the impact site, and the Department of Defense denies any involvement. But this does little to end public speculation, especially in the 1960s, when the space race is on everyone's mind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time. And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations can expect to stay behind in this race for space.
At the time, America and the Soviet Union are in a space race to be the first nation to put a man on the moon. But NASA does not officially reveal any possible explanation for the Kecksburg incident.
NASA keeps its UFO secrets very close. When I've spoken to astronauts myself about UFOs, they've said pointedly that one of the things that they are not just instructed to do, but ordered to do, is never to disclose to the public UFO sightings they've had.
The official government explanation is that Kecksburg was the site of a meteor impact. But how could a meteor change direction as witnesses report? And what did the military take from the Kecksburg site? 1965, a fireball crashes to Earth outside the small town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Authorities insist the object is a meteor, but witnesses report possible evidence of a UFO. What really fell to Earth in Kecksburg? Some experts believe the answer lies in tracing the whereabouts of the most important man in America at the time. It is alleged that President Lyndon Johnson's vacation at his private Texas ranch is interrupted. A group of VIPs wait for him in his living room. The meeting is reportedly about budget issues concerning the Vietnam War, but the list of visitors that day indicates the emergency meeting may have been about something completely different. Along with the Joint Chiefs of Staff are the Director of NASA and the Governor of Pennsylvania. The topic of discussion that day remains unknown, but the President immediately returns to Washington, where he calls an urgent meeting with the Director of the Office of Emergency Planning at the Pentagon. Could the recent spike in UFO sightings indicate something bigger and more threatening to come? It's a disturbing thought. Since the Roswell incident in 1947, less than 20 years earlier, UFO sightings seem to be increasing in numbers that are staggering. Many government insiders believe that unless a tight lid is clamped down on the UFO phenomena, panic could quickly spread across the country.
I think it's rather obvious that the United States military and government would keep it a secret if there was a conflict or connection between them and extraterrestrials. I think the reason is simple: fear. If we were to let the public know that we, meaning America, the strongest military in the world, is no longer #1, how many people would fear that?
Was Kecksburg the site of a UFO crash? Did President Johnson fear alien contact? Back in Kecksburg, a local radio reporter is preparing an in-depth story on the incident, complete with eyewitness interviews. But shortly before airtime, the station is allegedly paid a visit by the Men in Black.
The Men in Black are an unidentified group or an organization that would go around to alleged sightings of where there was some type of UFO report.
The Kecksburg story eventually goes to air, but the story is a heavily censored version of the original. Following the broadcast, the reporter refuses to discuss Kecksburg ever again. Sometime later, he is tragically killed in a hit-and-run while on vacation in California. The driver of the hit-and-run vehicle is never found. What really happened to the reporter? Could he have been the target of a government cover-up? But government attempts to maintain secrecy surrounding Kecksburg prove unsuccessful. Over the next few decades, witnesses will continue to break their silence at great personal risk to reveal the truth about what really happened that fateful night. Unsealed case file. The Kecksburg Witnesses. In December 1990, on the 25th anniversary of the Kecksburg incident, military personnel present the night of the crash come forward and confirm they were given orders to use deadly force. Other witnesses revealed that men wearing protective spacesuits bearing NASA logos were seen at the crash site, handling a bell-shaped object. Some also claim that overseeing the operation were men in black suits. Kecksburg resident Bill Bulabash was close enough that night to examine the crash site. The object he saw was 12 feet long and at least 7 feet in diameter, in the shape of an acorn. There were no visible doors, windows, or entry points of any kind. The metal was completely seamless. Perhaps the strangest feature is the writing covering the outside of the fallen object. Several witnesses, Bulabash among them, claimed the outside was covered with a hieroglyphic style of pictures and symbols. Are the markings on the Kecksburg object an alien language? If so, what could the symbols possibly mean? Witnesses say the cargo's final destination was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the home of Project Blue Book, a government operation mandated to identify and monitor extraterrestrial activity. The Blue Book team is alleged to have studied the Kecksburg object, hoping to unravel its secrets. 1965, a fiery object falls to Earth outside the small American town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Authorities claim it is a meteor. Eyewitnesses, however, report a bell-shaped UFO was removed from the site. But this isn't the first bell-shaped flying object to appear in modern history. 2 decades earlier, a similar top-secret craft was reported being developed by the greatest evil the world has ever known. Unsealed case file. Die Glocke, the bell.
The piece of technology known as the Glocke, or the Nazi bell, was something that right up into the final days of the war, Hitler wanted to make it.
Die Glocke is alleged to be the brainchild of Hans Kammler, a high-ranking Nazi engineer who oversaw many of Hitler's special construction tasks. He's most infamous for building concentration camps and underground bunkers for secret weapons manufacturing. His most valuable resource? Slave labor. Not surprising that at the peak of his career, he was also involved in the deadly V-2 rocket program that would claim thousands of lives. But death camps and world domination were not the only interests he shared with Hitler. Some experts believe Kammler may have been working with materials of an extraterrestrial origin. Die Glocke was also rumored to be experimenting in time travel.
Imagine a time machine that could win a war before the war even started. That was the theory behind the wonder weapon, Die Glocke.
If this machine was even capable of what the reports said it could do, then I have a hard time believing that it was running on any known earthly substance at the time.
Were the Nazis really working on a time machine? And was its inventor working with recovered alien technology? In the end, Hitler is defeated, but the fate of his superweapon remains a mystery. Die Glocke allegedly disappeared from the German mountains in the spring of 1945. After the war, Nazi scientists are brought to the United States as part of Operation Paperclip to work on top-secret military and space projects. Among them is Hans Kammler, father of Die Glocke. The reported similarities between Die Glocke and the Kecksburg object are uncanny.
The designs for the Nazi bell show that it was about 15 feet in height, shaped like a bell, hence its name, cylindrical in shape.
Was the Kecksburg object a descendant of the Nazi time machine? Did Hans Kammler trade the plans for Die Glocke to the American government in return for his freedom? Many experts believe Nazi scientists were attempting to create technology that the human race had never seen before. The fate of the Kecksburg object remains unknown, along with the Nazi technology behind Die Glocke. But the timing of the incident in the 1960s presents another very plausible theory.
The Cold War was a huge barrier to the truth being brought forward, for obvious reasons. I mean, it was a pretty dangerous time. So between that and the technology, the truth embargo is still in place.
Russia and the United States are not only competing for supremacy on Earth, they are also racing to the moon. Is the Kecksburg object a Soviet spacecraft? December 9th, 1965. The Russian spacecraft Cosmos 96 is launched on an incredibly ambitious mission. It is designed to orbit and explore Venus. The Cosmos mission is aborted in low Earth atmosphere as the craft loses control and begins a freefall back to Earth. Russia would need to inform the American government to avoid this being seen as an attack that could lead to nuclear war. In that event, the secrecy surrounding the Kecksburg incident could be the result of American desire to recover Soviet space technology. The Russian Cyrillic alphabet could also explain the strange symbols most of the witnesses report on the object. It's a compelling case that would explain a great deal, except for one inconsistency. Cosmos 96 landed 13 hours earlier, north of the Canadian border, a fact that has been confirmed by U.S. Space Command and NASA's chief orbital debris scientist, Nicholas Johnson. Seeking answers for the incident at Kecksburg, ufologists turn to NASA, but all disclosure requests for information are met with resistance. In fact, NASA claims the files on the incident do not exist. The truth behind the Kecksburg incident has remained a mystery for almost 50 years. But in 2007, NASA is taken to court in an attempt to force the administration to release its files on the incident. But while under questioning, NASA spokesman David Stites reveals that all of its Kecksburg records are missing. In light of this new development, NASA considers the case closed. What really happened that fateful night in Kecksburg in 1965? One witness saw more than he should have and was told by a military officer to keep his mouth shut. He did for over 25 years. A laborer who made a delivery to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base saw a body lying on a workbench covered in a white sheet. It appeared to be 4 to 5 feet tall, 80 pounds. The witness describes a hand sticking out from under the sheet, and the skin was lizard-like. Is the Kecksburg cover-up disturbing evidence of an alien visitor to planet Earth? The public has a right to know. This is Unsealed, Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth.